Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moms Who Pull. My name is Andrea. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Athena Wolf. She is my flexibility coach or flexibility mom, and she is a mom herself. And I can't wait for you to hear all the fun things we talk about as it relates to motherhood, body image, and doing something good for your body and finding joy in something that you love. So listen in, let's have some fun. Hi, Athena. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me.
You look amazing. I want to make sure I say that multiple times because you do. You look beautiful.
So do you. I love your makeup. It's
Oh,
gorgeous.
thank you. Brought to you by a YouTube instructional video. Well, I wanted to talk with you because you are a flexibility and contortion coach. You've done pole dancing. You're entering into the world of competitive belly dancing, and you're also a mom of two. Yes? Did I
Yes,
get all your
that's right.
accomplishments?
That's
Yay!
right.
Awesome. Well, and so one of the things that really inspires me about you is that you're one of those people that says that, contortion training, flexibility, that it's available to everyone. And I think as moms, sometimes we have kids and then we're like, oh, I can't do that anymore because I'm a mother. Like I can't be a competitive whatever because I'm a mom. And they let the fact that they're a mom overshroud everything else that they still have in their life. So I find you to be very inspiring.
And likewise, you too, because you're also one of those people who keeps going for their goals, although you also have two children. And that's very inspiring. And I'm glad that we're having this podcast because I think motherhood in competitive sport or in sport overall is not praised as it should be.
Exactly. I think people tend to look at, mothers, especially in a world of like a competitive sport or a crazy kind of sport like pole where there's just so much going on in it. And they think, wow, that's so incredibly selfish of her to take time away from her kids to train, for herself. And they miss out on the idea that if you don't take care of yourself and your body, how can you care for other people?
Very true. Very true. And also, what message are you sending to those kids? Because if other people find you inspiring, then how will those kids also not find you super inspiring? Well, maybe not in their younger age when they're very needy, but later on when they grow up, they will be like, oh, but my mom, she always pushed to get her goals and she always achieved her dreams, and that's amazing. And I want to achieve my dreams too, because if she did it, I can do it.
I love that. That's so true. You pave the way for them. You show them the path to success through your actions.
And it's not selfish at all, because it's not like you're ignoring your kids for a few months. What you're there, you're overly there, doing everything with kids in the way and homework in the way and a husband in the way and the whole parent meetings in the way, but you're still there like, okay, now I have an hour free, and instead of putting my feet up on the couch, I'm gonna train because I want to do this.
Exactly. It shows a level of discipline and commitment. And that's something that you can't just tell your children to have. Like they have to see it in order to, internalize it themselves.
Yes, like there's a number of parents I know from my area too. There's a number of parents who just they they weren't into sports or into anything. They don't have a hobby, and then they're there criticizing their kids or as, you need to push, you need to do this, you need to study. But it's like, why? You didn't,
And
you
they don't
know?
know how. Yeah, they don't know
And
how because no
yeah,
one's there to show them. And who's
exactly.
better to show them than their parents and their moms? So I find you very inspiring.
So do I. for you. I mean, so
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Good.
likewise, girl, likewise.
I also find myself inspiring at times.
You are. And it's funny when we have those private classes, we're always there like telling each other. And I like how you're sometimes so into your own head and like, oh, but this, but that. And then it's like, just chill out, girl. You're doing it. You got this. Like, even if you don't, we were training for this showcase, right? And you were so stressed. And I remember I was there like, it's okay. Whatever happens, at least you know you'd have trained for it and worked for it. And then yeah, you expect the best, but if it doesn't end up being the best, you know you did your best.
Sometimes you just get stuck in your head because you think of success or you think of, improvement as a linear process. And in flexibility or in any kind of sport that's multifaceted, your progress is not going to be linear. It's going to go up and down, and it's how you ride through the down parts that, really kind of shape who you are as a person. Like right now I'm going through a period of regression. I can feel it. Like I can't go to my maximum range like I did just a few weeks ago, and it sucks. And so you feel like, oh, I don't want to stretch. I don't want to train. But those are the times that you have to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And me too, actually. At the moment, I don't feel like my oversplits, they're not what they usually are. It's really in the splits, I feel like I'm not, but then again, I'm like, okay, I was sick. I was having these teeth issues. Like, it's okay. Who cares? Like, I'm doing the work. It will come back. It has to come back, but it's normal. It goes up and down, and it's okay.
And it's so hard when you get in your head because I think society puts a lot of pressure on us as moms, like to not give ourselves grace because we're responsible for raising the next generation. And we take that and we don't give ourselves grace in like any aspect of our lives. And then, when you're doing pole or flexibility and you're like, oh, I like you're going through like a regression period and you're being so hard on yourself. And then someone says, oh, you should give yourself grace. And it like you don't want to. It's like you get mad and it's hard to reprogram your brain into like being gentle, you
Yes.
know? Yeah. When in the showcase, so we did two performances, the one that we prepared for together, we did two performances. And in the second performance, things were just going so well. The middle split flow through was looking so good. And I got to the split, thread through. And you know how you would tell me, like, hey, stick your belly out, right? To keep that push forward. And for a second, I popped backwards instead of coming forward. And I heard you in my head going like, bitch, stick your belly out. I'm like, fuck. But honestly, it like helped me relax for the rest of the thing because it was like the worst has happened. It's done. It's
Exactly.
done. Grab it, move forward, like
It's done.
finish the trick.
It's done.
Would you mind sharing with everyone like how you started your flexibility training and contortion? Like what led to that? Would you
Oh,
share?
yes, yes. It was a great journey actually. It started with pole, and then it continued with a very bad shoulder injury because I was insisting so badly into doing a handspring. Everybody was doing a handspring at that time. It was like the top move to have a handspring. And I couldn't do a handspring. And I was like, okay, I'm shit. If I don't do this handspring, I'm shit. And I was kicking into it and throwing myself into it. And then one day, the bottom arm, and that's funny because everybody was like, oh, was it twisty grip? And I was like, yeah, it was twisty grip, but it was the bottom arm, It wasn't even the top arm, so it has nothing to do with that. It was just a lack of push, pull, and prep and conditioning. It was a lack of everything that led to that. And then I was left with the arm that was literally hanging off my body. It couldn't move for months. I couldn't even move my elbow. And I was
That's
like,
terrible.
okay, what do I do now? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna stretch now. So I started stretching, I started doing my splits, even my back bends, to the level where I didn't need to use my arm. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get super flexible now. And then I got super flexible. And then I went through, I was a little bit back and forth into my flexibility journey. And then I went to a really rough period in my life. And when I decided to come back to myself, to come back to life, I was drawn to contortion. It's really what drew me to to push. And I started training every day, and mostly back bends. It was really back bends that woke that up in me. And then, yeah, that's how it happened. And then after that, a few years later, I even found a coach. And yeah, one thing led to another. It's a nice journey.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I think bonded me to you was, you know, I had a shoulder injury at the beginning of this year. And I remember I had been in one of your classes on like one of the platforms, and you were talking about that injury. And I thought, well, she seems really nice. Like maybe she'll share with me what her recovery was like. So I reached out to you, and you were so kind to tell me to, you know, just come join you, train my splits with you. And, you know, by the time my shoulder's healed, I'll have these over splits. And
Exactly.
it was so, I don't know, so generous and so empathetic. And so then I was like, I was bonded to you as my flexi mom, like for life. And you were right, you know, taking that time to just focus on splits, I saw so much progress in them. And now that everything is kind of like working and I don't have an injury now I'm a little more scattered in my training because I can do it all. And now I have to like refocus.
That's where it gets dangerous. Well, not dangerous, but that's where you lose your focus, because for so long you had that injury and you were very limited into what you could do. And then all of a sudden you can do it all, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to grab onto anymore, like
Exactly. And we were talking about that feeling, I think a few weeks ago, we were talking about that feeling of like that consumption almost, like you want to do it all. It's like this fire that like consumes you, right? And you have to like, you just want to try everything and everything. And it means nothing because you're doing everything instead of focusing and seeing like meaningful results.
exactly. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and they were talking about children actually, but it applies to us as well. Like this person, it's a psychotherapist, mostly for children. She was saying that the worst thing you can do for children is to give them too many options. It makes them anxious. Like, and she was giving the example, like if you have two outfits to choose from, you're going to choose one or the other. If you have 10 to choose from, you're going to get anxious. And she was saying, and it's for adults as well. Like we actually, the too many options is not, it's not doing us any favor, but we think it is. We're always like, yeah, all my options are open. No, wait, let me close a few windows, because it's making us anxious.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean forever. It's just
No.
if you want to try something, when you're looking at a multifaceted, you know, I guess a sport like pole where there's dance, there's tricks, there's flexibility, you want to pop on heels and do edge work. There's so many different things you could do. And if you try to do all of it, you will do none of it.
No,
And
no.
it's so hard because if you say no to something, it feels like you're saying like that you don't appreciate that or that you don't want to work on that. And that's not true. It's just not right now. Otherwise, you're going to run your body ragged and then you're going to get an injury and then you won't be able to like carry the groceries or pick up your kids or do all the other things that are required of us as parents as well.
Yeah, all these things, because obviously when you're a mom and you train, you can't say, oh, I hurt my shoulder, so you guys are gonna have to shower yourselves. Like they're not gonna take their shower.
Did I ever tell you years ago I broke my toe doing Lyra? It was really soon after I had had my son. I should not have been inverting. I didn't have the core strength yet, but I really, really, really wanted to invert. and the whole
Yeah.
class was cheering for me. They're like, "You got this, mama." And like I felt like I'm gonna do this. And so I kicked my feet up and I aimed my foot like literally for the lyra itself. Like I aimed it for the metal bar and it smacked it, and it broke my pinky toe. I mean, so not the worst thing in the world, but to me it was very painful. I was very upset, and my husband took me to the emergency room to make sure that it was just like the little pinky that was broken and not like the foot itself. And the whole time we're in there, he's like, and he's like really loud so other people can hear him because you're just in those beds with the curtains. And he goes, you should really stick with what you know. You're good at pole. Just stick with pole dancing, okay? Don't try to do all this other aerial stuff. You're going to hurt yourself. You're a mom now. You got 2 kids. Just stick with pole dancing. The nursing staff is like, what's going on in here?
But the man was right. And that's also the thing. Like if you're also into a family with a male partner, you know how often we're like, yes, they're annoying. They're so fucking annoying, our partners. But the weirdest thing is that they're mostly often the voice of reason. Somehow they don't really know how to say it in a nice way, but they're right, they're right.
They want the best for us. They want us to be healthy so that we can do all the things, right? Like go ahead. Like my husband is very supportive of my pole dancing, but he doesn't want me getting injured because, he doesn't want me to be injured, obviously, because that would make me sad. And then also it's a huge burden on the rest of the family when
it's
you're
a handicap.
Yeah. So that's one of the hardest things this year for me has been this, like, I really want to train like I used to, but I know that that's not sustainable. And finding a way to train and progress sustainably has been like the challenge of this year. And I think flexibility and mobility training has played a big part in that and kind of opening my eyes to like what I need to do for my body so I can still do the sport that I love and be a mom.
And exactly, and be a mom.
Yeah.
Because you can't take your kids to the park in crutches.
No, but you can do little pole tricks on have you seen those like vertical poles in the park and like all the pole dancers?
But yeah, it's so funny how I think it completely also changes your perspective into things, like even today, I my dream is to do a back walkover. And to be honest, of course I can do a back walkover. Like I know I can do it.
Yeah.
But then there's this little voice in my head. It's like, bitch, you're gonna hurt yourself. What if you hurt yourself, And it and it's as annoying as that little voice is, it's the voice of reason too, because what if I hurt myself? Like I'm putting my whole household I'm a big burden because I'm overachieving instead of like taking it easy and be like, okay, when it happens, the time will come. It's okay. I don't need to rush it. But when you don't have that perspective of a whole little people who are dependent on you, it's fine. You'll get hurt. You'll get a few days off from your job. It's fine. Like who cares?
Exactly. And it's like, because no matter what we do, even when we're doing good things for ourselves, it is with the idea of I'm doing this good thing for myself because it makes me happy, because it makes me a better person, because it makes me a better mother. And with that comes that little voice that says, so no matter what, enjoy yourself, have a good time so that you can take care of your kids and be fully present for them. Yeah.
Exactly. Be careful. Exactly. Like, be careful. Yeah.
And so you trained flexibility while you were pregnant, yeah?
Yes, with my second child, yes. I trained through the whole pregnancy.
And did you feel like that had any like lasting, people talk about, oh, be careful when you're pregnant and doing flexibility because they say it can have like lasting impacts on the body. Did you experience anything like that?
It's true. Like there is this hormone that improves your flexibility, and the results, they last. Like there was a huge difference in my flexibility before that pregnancy and after. And I really used that pregnancy. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get super bendy. And I was like, I don't care if I get injured. I was like, I'll just do it. But then I also realized that if you've been already doing it, you know your body, you're not gonna get injured. It's not like you got pregnant and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm gonna train contortion now, like, no, why why on earth would you do that? But if you've been doing it already, you can continue and you can use it. But I definitely felt how it would be possible to get injured because your joints are way more elastic and more open, and yeah, why not? Like I always encourage. I have 3 pregnant students at the moment, and I'm like, and they've been my students already before, and I'm like, if your doctor says you're fine, there's no reason, like there's no difference from the walk you take every day to your flexibility training, since you've been doing it anyways, like, do it, let's use it.
Like you said, the general rule is if you've been doing something before you were pregnant and now you're pregnant, you can continue to do it unless it doesn't feel good. But
Exactly.
don't when you find out you're pregnant go, you know what? I'm pregnant and I've never done a pole class before. This is the time. Like, no, this is
Yes.
probably not the time. Maybe after the baby, then you can try something new.
I do think though that my hip, because I have this hip from time to time, it plays off.
Mhm.
And because it used to be my good side split, and I did abuse it a little bit during my pregnancy. And I do think maybe it's something to do with that. But at the end of the day, it's just another little inconvenience like we have anyways. It's like, it was worth it. Even if my hip sometimes plays off and I need to go and have someone pull my leg really hard to put it back in place, it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a hip that likes to do its own thing, and it's also my more flexible front split
Mm-hmm.
side. And I didn't really stretch during pregnancy. I mean, like a little bit, but not a lot because I was scared. And it certainly wasn't stretching that messed my hips up. It was pregnancy, like my hips.
Pregnancy.
Yeah, they separated. They got big, and like I
Yeah.
kept calling the doctor's office. I'm like, my hips don't feel right, and they're like, that's round ligament pain. I'm like, no, this isn't my first rodeo. This is my second kid. Like, help me out here. But I I don't know what it's like there, but sometimes you're not really listened to here. And I got dismissed until after the baby was born. And then they were like, oh, yeah, you know what? Your hips definitely like fully separated. And then they came back together, kind of like twisted. And because of that, like there's a lot of scar tissue and things that are just not quite right. And it took a lot of PT to get it to feel good
Right.
again. Yeah, it
But
was
that's
tough.
normal. And I think it's nobody would do anything to you and to your hips while you're pregnant. Because you know that in pregnancy when you have this sciatic nerve from time to time that really hurts.
Mhm.
Frederica from the group classes, she's complaining about it. She's like, oh, my
Oh,
sciatic. I'm like, yeah, just hang on there. There's
poor thing.
nothing you can do about it. And I remember I have this great physiotherapist. He's amazing. And I called him, I think I was in my 5th or 6th month. I was like, my sciatic nerve, it hurts so bad. And he was like, yeah, there's not, we're not going to do anything while you're pregnant, like,
Push the kid out, then we'll talk.
exactly. Like, obviously, yes, pregnancy does change your body. It's not the
Yes.
same.
And that's the hard part. Like you hear so much people talk about bouncing back. And I even see it like it's spoken about differently now, like on Instagram and stuff, but you see pollers, they're like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to have my baby. And then I can't wait to be back doing all the things again. They keep talking about being back, being back. But you don't really go back. You move
No,
forward.
bouncing back to me sounds like, when you have a very bad illness and you recover and then you bounce back. A pregnancy is not an illness. You don't bounce back from it. It's a transformation. It
Yes.
transforms you, and you have a new body after it that you have to get to know.
Absolutely. You've created life. Like how do you, what, you're going to take it back? No,
Yeah.
like the person is here and they came from you and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I think a lot of times people think about bouncing back like I want my old body back. Like I want the body I had before kids.
No.
The body I have now is better than the body I had before kids. It's strong. And
Yeah.
I appreciate what it did, but for the longest time I wanted my old body back because I was thinking about looking a certain way.
Mm.
And once I started focusing on the capabilities of my body now, after two kids, I appreciate it more. And then when I look at pictures with this different like perspective on my body, I'm like, hey, I look better now. I like the way I look now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's so bad that women are not encouraged to appreciate their new body, you know, but they're like, "Oh yeah, after pregnancy you're going to go to the gym and you're going to have this PT who usually is a man and he's going to teach you how to get your body back." And it's like, "I'm sorry, did you push a kid out of your vagina? Because if you did, congratulations."
Right? That's like one of my friends. She had her baby and she wasn't, she wasn't feeling right. Like her stomach, she had like diastasis recti,
Oh yeah.
and she was really struggling and she felt like she couldn't do anything. And then she started gaining weight and she's like, I'm gaining weight. I've got diastasis recti. Like, I don't feel good. I think there's something wrong with me. And her doctor had the nerve to tell her, like, well, it takes about a year to bounce back. And the best way for that is to eat less calories.
Yeah, what a bunch of crap.
Yeah. I
What a
just,
bunch of crap. Poor girl.
I know, right? That's disgusting. Luckily, she found a physical therapist and is on the road to recovery. But how can you look a certain way or look a way that either you want or that other people want you to look if you don't feel good?
Yeah.
Like,
But I blame Hollywood a lot for that because you have all these celebrities and they like really they piss me off when I think of, you know, like not when you've already been through the whole road and you know what's their game and actually you feel sorry for them because you know that how they get their body back after pregnancy is really not how you want to get your body back after pregnancy, you know, but everybody's
right.
like, oh, look at Kim Kardashian 3 months after giving birth, or look at this one, or look at that one, you know, and it's like, yeah, like that's very suspicious anyways, you know, like
I saw that thing where, curves and the booty were in, and then the other day, what was it that came out? It said heroin chic is in. I'm like, are
heroin
you
chic.
fucking kidding me?
Heroin chic, it's crazy.
I what on earth? Who wants that? Like, who wants that description, first of all? And secondly, are we really doing this? Are we really going to go back in time 30 years? Like, is that what we've all decided? That like,
Yeah, it was a thing in the 90s. I remember I used to look up to Kate Moss and I was like, I love how her collarbone is showing, you know, like things like that. But that's those beauty standards that are absolutely meaningless.
and how are you supposed to feel like as a mom, like you've given birth and you're being told by, the internet or whatever that like, hey, heroin chic is in, and you're like, okay, I'm nursing, or not, providing life and care for this infant, and I better hurry up and start looking like I do heroin in order to be seen as beautiful again. Like, can we just stop and just agree that like wherever you're at right now is beautiful because of what you've done with your life? What you've done with your life is more meaningful than anything else.
Yes. No, it's crazy. It's not even like beauty standards. It's also I have a student, she's an ex-ballerina. And when we first started doing privates, you know that in my privates, I like to sit down and light a cigarette. And And so we would train in the morning, and she saw me the first time when I was smoking, and she was like, "Oh, is that how you're keeping your figure?" And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, like every ballerina smokes instead of having breakfast or instead of having dinner, you know, like because we need to have a very, very tiny, tiny fit body, you know." When I was like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that, babe. Like, no, don't worry. I've had my breakfast. I'm just a smoker, you know, like but it's insane. Like even when you look at these ballerinas who are like top trained athletes, but they still go through these destructive patterns in order to have the same weight as they did 2 days ago, because they have to weight themselves every 2 days, and God knows what happens to them when they have a child. It's probably like, okay, bye-bye now, you know,
Right.
like
Right.
goodbye.
That's one of the things that I think I loved about pole, and what brought me to pole dancing, because I already had my first child when I started pole dancing, was people in the room. There were so many different types of bodies,
Yes.
you know, everybody looked the way they looked, and it was all okay, and it was all completely normal and acceptable. And I remember my husband was like not really sure about this whole pole thing, and he went to like a student showcase at the studio, and he saw one of the dancers, and she was plus size, and my husband was so impressed. Like he's like, I get it now. Like she is so strong. She's doing the most
Yeah.
amazing things, and she's not like, she doesn't have the body of a little Olympic gymnast. She doesn't look like a little girl doing tricks. Like, and he was like so impressed at how strong we were, like how empowering that was. And that was really kind of transformational for me, like that, like it doesn't matter how old you are or what you look
No.
like, you know, you can shake your butt around the pole, or you can get up in the air and do iron X's. It's all about whatever it is you want to do. And so it was very healing for me as someone who struggled with body image issues for a long time, that it didn't matter how I looked, it mattered what I did. And even though we say that to young women, we say that in a, oh, so what if people say you're ugly? It matters what you do. That's what matters. But you're like, but people say I'm ugly, right? And
It's
so it's,
detrimental.
yeah. So it's, you know, it was, pole was a way for me to internalize that feeling of it matters what I can do. And I'm proud of what I can do. And that is what changed my perspective on the fact that I couldn't bounce back after having a baby. And
Yeah.
I, that's how I started, was I was thinking like, I need to lose the baby weight. My baby is, you know, not a baby anymore. They're a toddler. I'm gonna go try something. And I had tried running and it sucked. And I tried, was it the P90X? You're like, is it do your best, forget the rest? And so I'm like trying, I'm like, this sucks. But like pole, I would work up a sweat and be at the studio, and like I wouldn't even notice that I
Yes.
was doing anything. It just felt so good. And then it didn't matter if then it didn't matter if I lost the weight or not. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, it matters now if you got that invert or not, or if you got that J split. That's what matters. The rest is completely unimportant.
Right. The old me would have seen heroin chic and been like, I guess I better go on the treadmill now. And the new me is like, that is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody looks the way they looks, but we can all achieve our goals. Like it doesn't. It's also like when you mentioned now the little gymnast body. You know, when I have I have many students and they take a lot of workshops, and many of them are moms, and they're like, "Oh, I'm taking a workshop with Anela Kuzmina, for example, you know, who is
Oh, I
amazing.
love her.
She is amazing." But it's like, oh, great, but you you have to know that you are not her, and that's okay. You know, first of all, obviously she's been doing gymnastics all her life. She doesn't have children,
Mhm.
you know, like you you haven't been doing gymnastics all your life and you have children. Those things she does, you're not going to do them, and you're going to be frustrated about that. So it's important to choose who you want to learn from, because it's very attractive online. You see all these teachers and all these workshops and all these classes. You want to do them all, but then there is this realistic expectations, and it's much better to set more realistic goals for yourself. Then maybe one day, yeah, sure, maybe one day you will do what Anela does, but take it easy, because you're gonna feel like shit about yourself, and that's not why you started doing the whole thing at the first time.
Exactly. That's really interesting you say that. I happen to love her quite a bit. And yeah, the stuff she does is absolutely crazy. And in my head, when she's dancing, she's got that swagger. And in my head, when I dance, I think I'm her. And then I look at the video, I'm like, no. But when I'm going to like train from someone now or like take classes from someone, I want to know how long they've been pole dancing, because the sport it's ruled by younger and younger people, and not that those people don't have valuable skills or experience.
Absolutely.
But where I'm at in my life, I want to make sure that I am training from someone that understands how to train sustainably without getting injured. And so
Absolutely.
I look for someone who's been pulling for a very long period of time, or doing like flexibility for a long period of time, because you've been doing contortion and flexibility now for, was it 8 years or 10?
Yes, about 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really long time to do something. As someone who doesn't understand how to train properly or how to instruct others, they're going to peter out because the injuries are going to get to be too great, right? So the fact that you've been doing it for so long says something about, how you treat your body. And so that's how I want to learn, because I want to be able to treat my body the same way, with respect and love and a little bit of push.
A little bit of push. And yes, there's a lot of like, some of these new age pole dancers who are amazing, but when you look at what they offer, for example, you see that their beginner intermediate course plan includes handsprings and flips on the pole.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'm going to take a step back. There's also contortion coaches who will make you do a chest stand for a warm up. And I mean, that's amazing for them. That's great. That's people who have been in the circus since they were children. And for them, it's nothing to do a chest stand. But it's like, obviously, I'm not gonna learn from them, because I cannot do a chest stand as a warm up,
Yeah, exactly. Because I think a lot of people, like when I'm talking to people or other women about pole or pole dancing, they're like, oh, I need to get strong before I can start pole. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like we'll build it into you. But it kind of, I hear that so much. I'm always surprised by that, that phrase, like, oh, I need to get strong first. And I don't know why they say that. Like,
it's because of what they see. It's because of these people who are amazing, and you see them flying on that pole, and they're like, oh, like, imagine if you've never touched a pole and you go in the first studio ever in your life, and you see the instructor, like as you enter the door, you see her doing funges and iron X's. I would close that door and go back home. Like, really, because I don't know anything about pole. So that's where the I need to get strong first comes from. It's important that they see. I have this great friend. She is amazing at pole. She is absolutely amazing. Her name is Paige O'Malley. Just the Paige is her Instagram.
Oh, I love her. I follow her.
She is incredible. And she also gives like online workshops and classes. And she always posts her amazing stuff, and I'm like, babe, try to post sometimes also stuff that are doable for every level, like it doesn't have to include any lift on the pole, or just a nice flow that is not speed times 25 like you're always doing, like a normal speed with a nice flow, because people are intimidated. They see you flying like that on the pole, like an eagle, and then they're like, oh no. No, you know.
That's so funny because from my perspective, I could see, I could understand that advice being given to your friend because I think she's amazing and I look at her stuff like, that's so cool. But when people say that to me, I'm like, what? I'm not, I'm not doing anything crazy. Like, I'm not a super big trickster. I'm not the flowiest of flowy people. You know, I do very like,
Oh, you are flowy. Come on, you are super flowy.
it's so funny the way we see ourselves. Like, I feel like I struggle a lot because I'm not like stand out in any way. And I just post like general stuff. And so when people are like, oh, I could never do that, I'm like, but you can, because when I first started pole, I was so bad at it. We did this little like back bend in pole. And when I came up, they said to grab the pole and walk around it. And I came up from the back bend and my hand missed the pole, but I was standing up. So I just held my hand up and pantomimed as if I had grabbed the pole and was just walking around in space somewhere else away from the pole. Like I, I mean, I feel like if I'm that bad and I can get to a point where I'm doing something that you think you can't do, I know that anyone can do it. I don't know if that
And
makes
people,
sense.
they don't know that. I remember when I first started pole, there was no Instagram, it was only Facebook. And there was this girl who was doing a split, just a split on the floor. And I was like, wow, she's a pro. She is a pro. She's my idol now, you know, like it's incredible, you know, like we forget how we used to think about things, you know, or seeing someone doing an invert.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh my God, what a pro, my idol, you know?
Well, that's like, what was it? I think Dan Rosen was saying it in some like live or one of his podcasts where he was like, remember when you could do a phoenix and people would like lose their shit, right? And now they're like, oh, that's a nice phoenix. Like, because pole has become so big and it's so accessible now, it's like these tricks. It's to anyone who has like a little bit of knowledge about pole, they start to mean less. And I think that's really sad because we have that like, oh, that's a this trick is that, and blah blah blah. Then like a newcomer coming in, like some mom that's like, I want to get my mojo, right? Like I want to connect with my body again. They're like, I need to get strong. I need to get strong before I can do any of that. Like, just stop. I was just here for the body waves, right?
Exactly. I was just there for the body waves. Yes.
I thought we were going to walk around the pole, hold on to it, you know? I didn't realize we were going to do fongies. What do you like? What advice would you have for any moms who are thinking about pole or contortion training, or maybe some polers out there that have recently became moms? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if they want to get into pole or contortion or anything, they should just do it. Just go there, go to the class. And even if you feel like you look stupid, which you probably will, like we all looked stupid when we started. That's the thing, you know. You know, when people start doing exotic and they're like, oh, but I'm not graceful. Bitch, nobody was.
So true.
Nobody was. Like, I was the most ungraceful thing ever, you know, and unflexible. No, maybe not too unflexible, but I was not flexible, you know. Like, just do it and just go. Forget about the fact that you look stupid or that you're not fit for it. Who cares? Just give yourself a year and then compare. You know, stick to it. Stick to it for a year and then compare to, you know, and
Yes.
to those moms who were polars already and now are new moms. That's the like, oh God, I used to be a runner before. I loved running. I was such a good runner. I
You're
was
amazing. What don't you do?
yeah. I was such a good runner and I have really long legs. I could run such a long distance really quickly. I loved it. And then after my second pregnancy, I did this thing to myself, which was like maybe 2 weeks after I gave birth. I was like, I'm going to start running again. And I started running and I would take my phone like to measure the speed and the time. And every day I would go out and measure the speed and the time. And I would be like, this is so far from what it used to be. And I forced myself to do that for 2 months. And every day I was hating my running. I was hating my performance that I put in my own head because nobody was there looking at my performance. And after 2 months, I gave up and I never ran again.
Oh, that's sad.
That is so sad. And that is very likely to happen to moms who pole and then have a baby. It's oh, but I'm going to start polling again and I need to have my Russian split now or my deadlift, and they won't have it most probably. And if they keep insisting on that, they're going to hate pole and they will give up. And so that's the thing, is like, forget all your past achievements and just go at it with your new body now. It's a new body, so go and see what your new body can do, and then you can work towards new goals.
Well, and I think in a sport like pole, it's like, okay, so maybe my body won't let me invert right now, but that doesn't mean that I can't explore dance and choreography, movement texture, and celebrate what your body can do in its new form, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's such great advice. Aw. Was there ever a time, I know you just mentioned it for running, but was there ever a time maybe with like flexibility training where you were just like, fuck this, I'm not doing it anymore? Like, do you ever experience that? I quit.
No, not really. But like, also flexibility has many different categories. So I definitely do have times. I had a long period now of nearly 3 years where I was like, fuck back bends. I don't like back bends anymore. And I barely did back bends, like, and I focused on splits and active flexibility and that. And now I'm back into back bends and I'm less into splits, So it's like, it's like a little journey. It goes up and down. I would never really quit because I really do love it and I love my body with flexibility. But yes, like there are skills where I'm fully into and then I'm like, ugh, no, I want to forget about that skill. I don't ever want to do it again. And then after a few years, it's like with chest stands now. I'm like, okay, I want to have my chest stand back, and then yeah.
And the thing about like flexibility especially is that I think you told me one time that it's like your body has a memory. And so you can put like a skill or something aside, and then when you come back to it, your body remembers. And like at first
Absolutely.
it's kind of like, what is it, like tough, but then all of a sudden your body goes, oh yeah, we've done this before.
Exactly, absolutely. Like an old skill, you'll probably, like, how you first learn a skill, probably it takes you, let's say, 1 year. It takes you 1 year or 3 years, never mind. It takes you 3 years to get one skill. And then you don't do it for a few years. And when you start doing it again, it will take you maybe 2 months to get it back.
Right.
So it's worth it. It's worth getting the skill, and it's worth also losing the skill because you'll get it back.
And I think it's nice to have that comfort, in your mind, because again, like we were talking earlier about closing a couple windows to focus, because if you're
Yes.
trying to do it all, you will burn out and you'll be like, I'm done. Like
Yeah.
I can't do this because you're not seeing any results. But if you're like, okay, I have my splits or I have my over splits, I'm gonna go train back bends for a bit and focus on that. When you come back to your split skills, your body will be like, huh, oh yeah, okay. It
Exactly.
remembers. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We
I
don't need
took
to put so much pressure on ourselves. We're just making ourselves miserable.
Exactly. I took some time off, Paul, not a lot of time, but I took some time off over the summer and it was so hard because I was like, I'm going to throw away so much progress that I've made. But when I stepped away, I was training a lot with you, and I was like, okay, I'm going to continue to train flexibility. And then I went back to my first, like, more like intermediate level class. It was with Dan. And we're going to do an invert. And I was like really nervous. I'm like, I'm going to go upside down. I haven't gone upside down in a long time. Like, I'm really scared. And it was perfect. It was
Yeah,
fine. It was pain-free. And I was so surprised. But it's because, one, your body remembers the movement pattern, but two, I had kept up the mobility to be able to do it.
exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully, if there's any like pregnant polars out there listening to this, like it comes back, but in a new way, right? Like you move forward into something that's even better because you
Absolutely.
appreciate it more. Like you appreciate what your body can do more. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, if anyone is interested in getting more flexible with you, how will they find you?
They will find me on my Instagram,
What's
which
your
is,
Instagram?
oh, Shelastic Wolf. Yes.
I love that. I'm coming up on 1 year of training with you. I had trained with you on different
Ooh.
platforms before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you started on dance platform on the pole destroyers. Yes.
it was a good investment. It paid off in spades for me. I'm coming up on 1 year of like really dedicating myself to
Amazing.
flexibility. Yeah.
Amazing. Congratulations. By
Thank
the way,
you.
I'm not a recordings person either. I've tried. Not for me.
I know. I'm like, why do I lie to myself and buy recordings if I if I know I'm not going to do them?
I suck. I suck at recordings. I bought a recording a few days ago for belly dance for arms technique.
Yeah.
It was a 2-hour recording. I did 20 minutes. And then I started like fast forwarding everything and be like, what's she doing here? What's she doing there? And then I was like, okay, fuck it. It's not for everybody.
It's not. You have to be really, really dedicated in order to get through a recording. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this so much.
This was super fun. We'll have to do it again. We'll have to pick another topic to talk about, get
Yes.
ourselves all amped up. And yeah.
Yes. And I hope like the moms who listen to this that they find some comfort and that they actually learn to actually let go of expectations or whatever, that's holding them back. And yeah, it's not worth it.
Because the hardest part really is, like you said, it's that first step. It's that first flexi class you take the first time you walk into a pole
Yeah,
studio. That's the hardest part. And then everything after that is just exploration.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There is so much beauty in just letting go and be like, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'll be a competitive athlete. Maybe I won't, but like
We don't,
when I first started stretching, if somebody would have told me, oh, you will be a coach of contortion one day, I'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I remember not too far away, like a few years ago, people were messaging me on Instagram and they were like, do you do like online classes? I was like, the fuck no, I don't, like I don't want to do that. This is no. And yeah, there it happened. Like you never know where your journey is going to take you to, but not taking it is the biggest mistake.
so true. I remember the first time someone talked to me about teaching pole, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, who wants to see my mom bod up in front of a classroom? And I can't believe I thought that after the reason why I loved pole was because of all these different body types. But that was my first thought. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no. And now I can't imagine not teaching pole or
Yeah.
floor work. It's been so incredibly rewarding to witness other people's
Yes.
transformations.
Yes, absolutely. Like you say, it's a transformation, and when you're their coach, you have the privilege of witnessing that and seeing yourself in so many of their self-doubts and everything at the beginning. You're like, oh, okay, you're annoying, but I used to be exactly like that, so I got you.
Why
It's
are
the
you
truth.
wearing, yeah, why are you wearing so many clothes?
It's the truth. It's the truth.
I saw this old video of myself, like from one of the first, pole choreos I ever learned. And I was like, oh, I got a lot of clothes on.
Yeah, you sure did. We all had. I bought these like shorts. I remember that the girl said you need to wear shorts. I bought nearly like these cycling shorts, like
Because they're skin tight, so they allow for freedom of movement, but they don't show too much because you're not
yeah,
sure if that's
exactly. I don't
okay.
want to show too much.
Right. And now it's like release the cheeks. Like I feel like something happened in 2017, right? Around 2017, all of a sudden the shorts got like incredibly smaller. And I love seeing all the booties. It's been a wonderful booty awakening.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't want to lose that to heroin chic.
Hell no.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, Athena. I really appreciate it. We're gonna have to do this again soon.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That was so much fun, and I really enjoyed talking to you always.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
See you soon, honey. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.